Hey guys, welcome back to What the
Hey
Phuc.
everybody,
What
how's it
episode is
going?
this, Roberto?
We're at episode 49.
Wow, so this is the halfway mark,
Yeah, yeah,
almost, right?
episode 49.
And I guess it's the halfway mark because 50 is, could be the beginning of the second half or whatever.
Yeah,
But it's also
it's
the
first.
first episode of 2023, right? It's
Yeah,
January 5th, 2023 right now.
man, it's
Can't
crazy.
believe it's so fast, man. 2023, wow.
How was your new year?
Well, it's been great so far. And the last year has been pretty good, but I wanted to talk this episode. Let's do a 2023 recap,
Let's
but
do
from
it.
the point of view of let's do woo woo only this episode, right? Let's do all the crazy
Oh,
stuff. All right. And let's also talk about like some meaning of life stuff. So right before we started this, we were having a conversation about accountability,
yeah.
about being accountable for something, right? And being passionate about something. And I'll tell you the honest assessment. Okay. In 2023 was a year where Mass Realty died. And then it could be reborn again in 2023.
2022.
Or 2023. This is the new year where it could be reborn. Here's why it died. Okay, for me officially. Master T died because I didn't really care about it anymore. Because I had tried for so long to get other people to care about it a lot, right? Like I tried to get, I put money behind it, I built a team, and I tried to motivate them. And I never got one to two people who were so into it that had the skills to get it off the ground, but also the killer instinct. And here's what I mean by the killer instinct. The killer instinct is this is the only thing you can do that would make you happy. And if I have other options, I couldn't be happy. Does that make sense? So, for example, let's say I want to start a company. I feel like I'm a startup guy or girl or whatever it is. And you basically want to start a company and you can imagine your life next year working for someone, let's say a consultancy or a job that you actually like and all that stuff. And a couple of years later, you can start a company. Does that make sense? That's the typical people. I'm going to save some money. I'm going to do something else. I can probably have a good time doing it for a couple of years and I'll start a
Yeah,
company. Those people should not start companies. Those people should go ahead and work at that job,
and just
get
stay
a
there.
consulting job, go work at Upwork, go work at Amazon, go work at Facebook, go work wherever you want to work and be a corporate person for the rest of your life. You should not start a company, period. Because you don't have what it takes. That was the most of the people I met through trying to start Mass Realty. I probably had tried 15 people, contractors, people who are interns, people who are full time who want to join the company. And throughout years, I'll tell you how it failed. Like all startups fail. All my startups fail. There was no passion in it. The idea didn't wake people out of bed. There wasn't enough initiative by the people who were there. And everyone was trying to ride someone else's coattails. Everybody was trying to see what was going to happen. And it was part of a cool party. But no one actually brought the keg. No one danced really cool. No one sang awesome karaoke and made it fun. They were just kind of hanging out and trying to soak in the afterglow of the cool people around them and the cool idea and the cool environment. And it was a cool adventure where they would be a bystander. And if they were lucky, they would be like the fifth Beatle, right?
Like Ringo?
They'll be, or Ringo, or the fourth Beatle, or something like that, where like they just barely made the cut, but they were part of something great. That's why Master OT failed. Phuc Labs, on the other hand, we had a team where I wasn't going to give up. Some other people in the company weren't going to give up. Some people did give up. Some people didn't do a good job. But the truth is, everyone got out of bed wanting this to happen and manifesting this destiny.
Well, there was another
And
big
they
difference
couldn't
as well,
imagine
though.
themselves doing something else. They took
There's like,
discounts. Yeah. They took
well, there's a big
opportunities
difference, though.
away and they basically did stuff that they would never do because they really believe in the mission and stuff. And I'm sure other people believe in the mission, but they didn't do what they needed to do to keep it alive. You gonna say something, Roberto?
Yeah, no. But like one of the big differences between let's say like Phuc Labs and Mass Realty was that in the Mass Realty team, like first we only got like interns and people that were there temporarily.
That wasn't
and
true. They were actually
yeah, of course
there
it
to
was.
join as co-founders and start the company. Actually, at the beginning, you missed it when you weren't there. Magali was part of it, but there was actually a team of people who supposedly devoted to it full time. Actually, I even paid them.
Okay, what happened with them?
They didn't do shit. They made promises they could not keep.
Okay,
And why? Because when you keep that promise, that'll be great. But if you didn't keep that promise, you can get another job, no big deal. That's the commitment I'm talking about. They'll get the payment that you promised them and they'll move on and get another gig. It was okay to fail. So they'll make lies, they'll do half-assed job, they'll basically pretend they didn't hear something, or they said they didn't hear something, or you have to put in writing some other stuff next time, but there's always some excuse. Okay. The difference between that and someone here would be like, hey dude, where's that project? Oh man, I'm late. And I'm like, well, what are you gonna do about it? I'm gonna fix it. And then next week they fix it. That never happened at Mass Realty. It happened at Phuc Labs. So sometimes you communicate. Maybe things do mess up, but the people who are great, they actually mess up and they try to fix it and they get better and better, and you start to build more trust. There was no one at Mass Realty that got that. That got to that level where there was built like, I promise you something, I deliver it. I promise. Guess what? Every time there was something that was owed from Mass Realty, I paid every time what I promised. I paid people. I spent $200,000 on that business at least, and probably half a year of my life coding and doing shit, including this year
okay.
with you, Roberto and Magli and other people, and we didn't do shit. And I'm
This
gonna be
year,
blunt about that. I'm honest about myself. I failed.
yeah, but like when would this happen? Like at some point, like I do understand that you did check out, and we have an episode on getting your mojo back. That
No, because I was trying to
yeah,
rally for the feelings of others. See, when you have a team, you need to have just not just me, but other people. I did get my mojo back for coding, and I
yeah,
coded all Phuc Labs, and I did a bunch of stuff for Master OT. But the whole point is, you got to get people involved who actually do more to help you. And let's say you build a team, you have to have the team actually grow with you. There was no team
yes,
growing with me. There was no team that actually. I'll give you an example. Like let's say simple stuff. The website was down for weeks. Many times it's up. Many days were down. You found out, but it was like a week later, and I found it was a leak. No one really cared because it wasn't really something that mattered to us. But every time the website was down, we lost SEO, we lost value. But no one really cared about all the top line things. Okay, because it wasn't their dream, it wasn't their mission. They could go on and get another gig, like I said, and if failure was okay. It wasn't going to be the end of the world. So when your friends say, hey, it's not the end of the world when your business fails, those people, we should not start businesses. It should be the end of the world. That's the only way the business will actually be successful, because when you have a business, you're having a baby.
yeah, definitely.
I'm having a
Like you said,
baby and my
there's a
baby
thing of like
dies. I'll
of
be so
accountability.
sad. And that's why I try to keep Masterity alive all these years, because it was my baby for like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, where it was. And it failed and it started dying. But it was on life support, but it was still around. It was an entity that was on life support, and now it's dead. I can
Well, it's still
100% say
there.
it's dead. And the only way it can come back is in a new form with new people who actually give a shit. And that might be happening right now, because there are some people I'm talking to where they're gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna be their advisor. And Roberto, you're part of it too, right? There's like a team of 3 or 4 people, 3 or 4 souls, that if these souls really want to manifest this destiny, this timeline, where they're successful building something together, then it will actually exist. Now, if those 4 souls don't want to do it or don't believe in the mission, then they're not going to join the mission. So the first step, I'll tell you how to start a company,
It's
is to
filter out.
not have the idea, but to have a vague idea of what you want to do, a vague North Star, and then meet people along the way that also want to go to that North Star, but they have their own idea about how to do that. Right? So if we do anything, it'll be like a reset, and it'll be basically a brand new idea, which we have. And you guys are going to execute it, not me, because I have been carrying the load for everything so far, right? In terms of trying to keep this company alive. And I've been burnt out for Master OT. I can't handle it anymore. My heart's broken. I'm serious.
But it's been a while though.
Phuc
Yeah, no,
Labs
I get it.
though is the opposite, right? And I have to choose: do I work on something that it's working and 100% kicking ass, or should I try to save this dead child?
Well, in this situation, I feel that you do have a favorite kid though.
No, no, no. I don't have a favorite kid. I just have to focus on the one that's alive and that's doing well and that actually listens to me instead of me doing like CPR and they can't even breathe.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a choice. It's just a reality. Okay. So the new people, right? They have a shot and I can guide them. And I think that's my mission for the rest of my life. Right. So I'm setting up Phuc Labs in the same way to start companies. Right. I don't want Phuc Labs to be a regular company. I want it to be an innovation lab. And the
Mm-hmm.
methods I'm going to take to do Phuc Labs have been the methods I've been using my entire life, but I'm going to formalize it a little bit more. I'm going to make it work. But the number one thing is the accountability. The
Okay.
accountability of you actually giving a shit and keeping a baby alive. And Roberto, I know you're still here and you want to keep it alive, but it can't be the same baby. It has to be a different baby. It has to be your baby. You have to give it a shit a little bit more. Same thing with Nick. He's got to give a little shit a little bit more. You guys are in a position where you need this and you need to have this happen. I'm hoping to guide you guys. And maybe this show could be about that too, right? Where I guide you
Yeah, no, for
guys
sure.
and these new interns who might also help. And the equity will be whatever the new equity is. You guys going to renegotiate. I don't want all that much more. And we can talk about the equity for that and the equity for the, some other ideas. But the idea is, I like you guys. I like you guys. I like your spirit. I like your
We
desire.
like you
You
too,
have
Fu.
skills I don't have, and I think you guys can do it. But right now, I'm going to kick you in the ass. You need a little bit of mojo.
No, actually, there's a bunch of redefinitions that need to happen within the team of who exactly does what. Because like how we were talking a little bit before, there were like team members that had a responsibility. So there's some things that I'm very okay with delegating. I understand that I don't know everything. So at some point, you just like, okay, this is your part, and you assume that part is going to be taken care of. And you check on it every now and then, but that's it. And then let's see who comes in. Like you met the new guys, right? So like I think you went like for lunch or something yesterday. So let's see what's there and what are they bringing in.
Yeah, basically, the problem, Roberto, is you're just a piece of the
Mm-hmm.
puzzle. Okay,
Yeah,
and you've done your piece that you thought you done the piece, but it doesn't matter how well you do your piece. There's other pieces
yeah,
that need to be done. Now, what you
exactly.
could
It's
have done
just,
is taken that piece and expanded your responsibilities beyond that piece. That's something that if I had to give you advice in 2023, that's what I'll give you
yeah.
advice on. You understand that? Like this is no, I'm not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I was your crutch. I was the company's crutch because the founder, the guy who leads it, who has the most equity, supposedly, who has the most the gain, should be doing everything else. But then the founder is going to look at you and say, "Well, I can do everything else. I get it, but if you did more, I can actually give you more responsibility. I give you more money. I give you more whatever, and you can earn
Mm-hmm.
more if you want to. But it's up to you, right?
Well,
So,
no,
for
I get
example,
the
making sure that the AdSense worked, making sure that you actually look at the website every day, make sure it was functional, make sure the data feed was actually working, so that we have new listings. That was not done by anybody. Now, that was the opportunity was there. Had somebody grabbed that opportunity and ran with it, they would have actually gained a VP title or some more responsibility, more trust, maybe even more equity. This is what I'm telling you guys, right? When you go to a startup, it's not a role you sign up for, it's a mission. That mission requires many roles, of which you were hired for one role. If you go in there and you rock your role and you want to ask for 5 more roles and you rock those 4 roles, that means you're a superstar rock star. You're a superstar rock star who's going to be VP, who's going to be promoted, and maybe you start your own company one day. Because that's what hungry people hungry for knowledge, hungry for experience, hungry for adventure. They don't go and go on a camping trip to go and climb Mount Everest, and they say, hey, I'm the tent guy. And then when there's something to be carried, or someone needs to be rescued, or some other mission, I can't fucking do it. It's not in my job description, or it's not my lane, and I'm not comfortable doing it. I can't save anyone. I don't have any medical skills. But you're the only one on that mountain, man. Someone's bleeding to death. I've never stitched anyone. I never tried to cauterize a wound. I've never tried to do CPR. Well, fucking learn. That person's gonna die. That job's not going to be done. The company's going to fail. That's the urgency that you need. That's why I'm swearing, because I want to show how important it is. that people understand that a startup isn't a company, it's a mission. It's not a job, it's being part of a team, a superhero team. And the superhero team does superhero things outside their lanes because you know what happens to your child. If your child is not good at math, you better learn math and tutor that person or get them extra help or do whatever they need to do. If your child has a rare disease and you have to actually start taking care of them, you better learn how to take care of them. If your child is falling behind, you better do extra work, even though you may not be comfortable, because that's what your child needs. That's the attitude you need to bring to companies, to anything in your life, to your family, to things you care about. And that's the difference between the team at Master OT and the team at Phuc Labs. We had more people who wanted to do anything that needed to be done to get the company from A to B. Now, within the lane, they did great. Outside the lane, they even tried. But the thing is, when you have a team that cares to that degree, then the gaps get filled by people who are average or below average at that skill. But actually, that thing is being done to some degree. That's why Master OT failed in a nutshell. That's why most companies fail in a nutshell. This is my lane. I'm good at coding, but the business is failing. No one's selling anything. So we're going to fail as a sales team. No, you're going to fail because you're part of a team that should have sold stuff. Why don't you go help sell? You have time on your hands. Maybe you have an idea for what to sell. Maybe maybe you're the tech person. You said, yeah, I can prototype something really quickly for you guys to sell. That's not what you're selling right now because what you're selling right now isn't working. I have an idea for something else that might work. Did you know that's how Twitch started? You know Twitch, Roberto? You know
Yeah,
Twitch.
yeah, the streaming and everything. Yeah.
So Twitch was this company where this stupid idea where you follow this guy around. It was a reality show and you follow people around. It was a TV show like YouTube, but it was 24 hours of watching someone do what they do. Right? Kind of like Be Real today, but all the time with video,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And they said, this is failing. And one of the developers said, hey, let me try something because I noticed that a lot of the gamers, they have a channel and people watch that more. Let me do a prototype of a gaming only portal where you can see people play video games and basically voyeuristically be part of a gaming community. And it took off and it sold for several billion to Amazon, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's worth a lot right now.
Because
And there's
one
more money
developer
in
said,
gaming. Yeah.
hey, the sales team can't sell. We can't raise money. No one's using the system. It's failing. It did well for a little bit. It was a nice flash in the pan, but it was a flash in the pan. Let's do something else. And they experimented and they kept it alive. And now Twitch is around, right? Same thing with Twitter. Did you know that Twitter started as a podcasting company where they would make podcasts way too early for when podcasts weren't ready yet in terms of mainstream. And they
Okay.
tried to make all these podcasts. It didn't work out, but they decided to do Twitter instead as a hack. And you know who did that hack? It was like the UX guy, the basically the web designer, like you, Roberto. Right? A designer came up with this idea, designed a prototype, did a screenshot. The developers liked it. It was easy to build. Twitter is really easy to build, the first version, right? The scaling is hard, right? But the prototype was easy to build and it took off. That's how it worked. Many instances of this. For example, SpaceX. SpaceX is a company that brought rockets into fruition, but they didn't make any money because they only had like 60 launches a year. They might make $10 million each or maybe $20 million each. But when they launched Starlink, when they launched a satellite that actually had internet and they built their own product line because they didn't have a customer who wanted to do that, and they knew that this needed to exist, and if they did this and built their own product line, that's not just shuttling A to B from here to space. They actually shuttle things that they owned, and they have 3,000 satellites across the globe and 1 million plus customers. Each customer
Yep.
paying a certain amount a month, a certain amount a year. Let's say $100 a month, $1,000 a year. That's a freaking $1 billion.
But they get a ton of money from the government, though.
No,
If
no, not for Starlink. That's all theirs. That's not government funded at all. The Ukraine war, they gave it for free. You know, they don't make money from the military. They don't make money from all that stuff. People don't know that. But Starlink makes money from consumers and from people who hack the system. For example, cruise ships are starting to use it. Uh, 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 Airplanes. People obviously in the middle of nowhere are using it, but
Yeah.
people are repurposing it for war, like you said in the Ukraine, and they're giving that
Hmm.
for free, right? And the main thing is it's becoming something that's going to replace all satellite. It's going to replace all these Wi-Fi systems. It's going to be in cars. It's going to be in the Tesla cars, maybe. It might be in the Cybertruck. It might be in these like semis, and then you can have Wi-Fi powered by these cars. That then you can go and use your phone, and now you can sign up for Starlink's phone service or Wi-Fi service down the road. And guess what happened? Some engineer, someone with an idea said, "Hey, boss, instead of doing one thing, let's do two things. Let's
That's
come
gonna
up with
be
an idea to keep this baby not just alive but thriving."
that's gonna be crazy though. Like they're gonna have all the data, like in a market
They
where this is so valuable. Yeah.
it's a really simple concept. All the satellites are super high. Their satellites are low orbit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you're super high, you can think of it as a light. You can shine a light super high and cover more areas, but the light is going to be weaker when it hits the ground, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a signal, the radio signal. Now you imagine a light is lower, right? It's right above your dining room table, let's say. It's a chandelier or something like that, right? Now the light is going to be closer to the table, but it's going to actually shine on less of the table. You might have to have 5 lights along the table. Let's say you have a long table, right? And you have to have these, drop down lights, and it looks cool. But not only is it cool, but the lights are brighter when it does hit the surface, even though it covers less. So you need 3,000 lights in this case to cover the entire globe. But actually, they probably need 1,000. But 3,000 gives you lots of lights. So now the coverage is stronger everywhere. So instead of being strong and then not strong and kind of uneven, they probably need about, I think I'm not sure the exact number, probably like 5,000, 10,000 satellites. And they already got licensed for that, right? And Jeff Bezos got licensed for it too. But guess what? They have the spaceship to take the 3,000 units there, and on a free ride essentially, off of their technology, off of their SpaceX. So they say, hey, we have that free ride. We're Uber driver. Instead of just driving other people's stuff, why don't we start DoorDash? When we start Uber Eats, when we start delivering, for other restaurants, that's what they also did, right? They do that. But then when we do this, when we go and build, I don't know, a company that is like UPS or something, or not, that gives a service or something like that basically is beyond driving, right? And they use their technology and they use their base to actually do something cool. That's what I should have done. That's what we're doing with Phuc Labs. I'm setting up that structure right now. We kind of had that informally, but I'm formalizing that into a product process where you have to discover what the customers want, right? The customers want Wi-Fi, but they want all these other things, but you have to narrow down to truly what they want and then create a service that is actually better than what the customer expected. And they didn't understand the technology. They said they want this, but what they really want is they really want fast latency. Why? Because they're playing video games or they're doing Zoom, and they want, instead of a light super high with low bandwidth, they'd rather have something low with high bandwidth. And not only that, but that competition that's higher than you, they'll never achieve the bandwidth speed that you do, right? So you're going to be faster always. You may have less coverage at the beginning, but over time you can match the higher satellites. And so that was a killer sauce. You got to find the killer differentiator. Why are you better than everyone else? And the third thing you have to think about is, what's my unfair advantage? What can I do that's better than everyone else? And then if they wanted to do the same thing, they can't do it too. For example, in the case of Twitch, they already had a video feed. They already had the gamers. They already had an audience that wanted to watch something. All they had to do is tweak what to watch. So the unfair advantage was they already had that.
Okay.
The unfair advantage for SpaceX was they already had the ride for free.
Yeah.
No one else can do that unless it'll be billions of dollars. But for them, it was probably like 100 million of actual costs, right? Because they're actually running the service. They don't have to charge the premium, and they can basically do it at cost. Okay, and that their cost is much lower because that's their technology. It's much lower than everyone else. So no one else can even do it at their cost because they're the
So you
only
can't
ones who can
compete.
do it at that cost.
Yeah.
And so if someone wants to sign up to do the competitor, they say, hell no, I'm not going to give you a free ride. I'm not going to give you any paid ride either. I'm not going to give you a ride, period. You can't compete with me. Now, the only other one who can compete with him is the one who gets the license. That's Jeff Bezos. And he has his own spaceships. He can maybe hire from Russia, but it's going to be completely different. They don't have the advantage Does that make sense? And so the advantage for Phuc Labs is we have some core technology, but also we have a badass tech team. I'm really good at coding. We have good engineers. And if you can create a repetitive development process where the best scientists and the best developers come and work for us, and we can just copy paste a lot of the effort that we do because we do it in a way that's systematic, we
Okay.
can build stuff really fast and prototype more things. And so this year, we're focused obviously on the things that win, but we
Hmm.
got to be able to do multiple things at the same time and start an innovation mindset. Because Facebook doesn't have that. Facebook from day one was a one trick pony. So I want to talk about this. Focus versus doing many things. Focus is good, but focus removes the ability for you to be lucky and to actually find other opportunities you never saw that might be even bigger than the one you started with. Those
Okay.
examples I just gave you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
No,
But Facebook's been around for how long? Like what, 15, 20 years?
yeah, and same thing with Google. They're
So
gonna get displaced by Chat GB3 and all these other companies like Microsoft. But the thing is, they either buy companies to be innovative or they start stuff. And most of the time, they buy companies and they don't start stuff, right? And
okay.
that's because they
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have a culture. Because basically, what happens is your employees, your investors, and maybe even your exec team, they're gonna say, "Well, let's do one thing and do it really well." That's the old adage. Let's focus. Do one thing. Focus on school. Don't worry about art. Don't worry about sports. Don't worry about your hobbies. Study and do piano and everything to get into college because you have to focus.
Facebook was
You
founded
know
in
what happens to those people?
2004.
They get into college, maybe. Maybe they don't get into college. But they'll be so focused on being an automaton, doing the same thing that everyone's doing and competing with everyone who's trying to get into college. You know how I got into college? I got into college because I loved what I did and I tried to explore most of the world. I was a B plus student at my school.
Hmm.
I didn't even have an A average. The valedictorian had an A minus average. That's how hard my school was.
Yeah, no, and
Okay.
I get it. And there's a different thing then. Just grades can't see.
People at my school had better grades,
Hmm.
had more focus, but I was interesting. I was a champion wrestler. I did art. I did sports. Other people did sports too, but I was actually good at it.
Hmm.
I did the Mayor's Youth Leadership Corps. I worked jobs, many jobs as a kid. Other kids didn't have jobs. I knew two languages. I was an immigrant. I grew up here poor. I taught myself everything in terms of like taking care of myself. My parents didn't know English. And so when you go and you apply and you write a story about that and how you're going to overcome everything and you're going to win and you're going to accomplish big things, people believe you. You know why? Because you're a go-getter. You did it yourself. You didn't listen to people. You just did what you thought was interesting. You're naturally going to do things. The other person, their parents told them to do something. They're very obedient. They're really good at doing what they were told. They had great test scores,
Yeah, yeah.
but they're
No,
bland.
well,
There's 5,000 of them, and there's one of me.
they're like soldiers.
Correct. Companies, same way. There's many companies, the investors say focus, focus, focus. And they don't have the freaking balls to basically, sure, boss, I'll focus, but I also want to see what's around because I want to build a
Hmm.
resilient company because you care about making the max money in 8 years, 10 years, maybe 15 if you have a long run fund. But you want me to focus because for you, you're not focused. You got 15 things going on, don't you, investor? You got me who's focused. You got someone else who's focused. And all that focus is called diversity in your portfolio. And you pitch that to the people who give you money. You're like, I have to have a portfolio approach. But then you
Okay.
tell your portfolio company you should focus and go all in. Why? Because of perspective. It's good for you that they're focused while you're unfocused. So you can de risk your investments, have the maximum opportunity to win because everyone is just a piece of your puzzle. They're not humans, they're just part of your portfolio. Now, if you were actually to think of them as humans, you'd be like, What would that human bet? How would I help that human? Well, I help that human because I would make them resilient like I am. They should focus, sure, but maybe they should focus on 3, 4 things. Just like I'm focused on 8 investments that I'm going to make in my fund. Maybe they should focus
Okay.
on 8 things, and maybe 3 of those things hit, and they're going to win because all of them are great, or one of them is great, but they're going to have a better chance of winning. But the VCs and the investors don't want that, and maybe employees don't want that because they're going to say you're not focused. You're basically, instead of 100% chance, 50-50, let's say, whatever the chance is of one thing, you're diluting 4 things, 5 things, and you're screwing yourself. It's like saying to your kid, you better study only. You don't do sports. You don't do art. Those are distractions.
Well, especially
But
like
they're
for, I
not.
mean, like for a VC that they need to measure everything. So the fact that you get a little bit creative or start losing focus and losing around makes
No,
it
no, no.
so
They don't
that
want to
it,
measure anything. They want you to focus. Because here's the problem. If you don't focus, now you have 8 companies that are doing 20 things each. So you have 160 investments that you're managing. You don't
yeah.
want that. You want 8 things because you want to choose the 8 things you really want to choose. And then if they're doing anything else, you don't want that. So there's always going to be a conflict because of your perspective. From your perspective, you want them to be focused. For example, if you want to buy an apple, it better be a real apple, not half an apple. Otherwise, I buy the real apple. I'm going to buy a banana. I'm going to buy whatever. But if you're the banana and you're the apple, you're like, hey, I want to be different types of apples. I want to be green apple. I want to be yellow apple. I want to be other types of apple, small apple, big apple. Because during the season, when the winter comes and the soil is there, maybe the soil doesn't support this apple. Maybe it supports other apples. Maybe the weather is not good for this season for this type of apple, but maybe this other apple is better because the economy is not so good. Or wherever the customers don't want to eat it this season because there was some bad news about this type of apple and it's hurting the market because they think there's a disease in the apple. But the
Okay.
idea for you is if you're having an apple farm, would you grow one type of apple, man, or would you grow many types of apples?
Well, no, you get a bunch. Just see what's up.
So your perspective, you're doing a bunch of apples because you want your farm to survive. From the person who wants to buy apples from you from Whole Foods,
Yeah.
they'll say, "What does your farm do? Oh, your farm has 5 types of apples. You must be okay with all of each app, but you're not the best. But this farm, they only do Granny Smith apples.
Okay.
That's what we want to buy because they're focused on that, and they probably have the best Granny Smith apples. That's all they're working on. And this other farm that has Granny Smith apples and 4 other apples, they can't be as good.
Well, there's this thing that
That's the
I
perspective.
heard like a while back. It's like the jack of all trades, master of none. That I wasn't really like okay with. I mean, like the fact that you know how to do a bunch of things doesn't mean you're not good at them.
But you have to think about it from the point of view of many angles. First of all, did you use the same tractor? Did you use the same process to create all those apples? How different was the effort to create 5 apples? Okay. Now, was that process superior to the person who made one type of apple? Why? Because it was so superior, you can make 5 apples with less work, and the apples are even better. Because you use a special process where your engineers are better, or maybe you use a mechanical plow, or you use like AI, or you use drones, or you use some type of fertilizer that's better, or you have some type of special seed that made you more efficient and
Okay.
better, and that's why you were able to do 5 apples. If that's the reason, you must consider that, and you must say maybe that farm is actually better. Maybe that farm can give me the best Granny Smith apples and the best 4 other apples, but I have to taste it. I have to try it. The investors don't taste or try very well. They have no clue what the hell is going on with them. They may know what a good product is, maybe not, but the truth is it's a judgment call, right? And the truth is you're not there doing it every day, and you don't know how many. So let's say the Granny Smith apple farm, you need 100 people to do that because they're doing manual picking and manual
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other farm, you need one person in a robotic
That's
plow,
it. You just
robotic
operate a
system to
machine.
do
That's
the
it.
entire farm for Granny, and then you have 4 other people doing another plow for another field, and they're doing much more with 5 people than you ever would with 100 people. That's the company you want to build. Because while everybody else is trying to do Granny Smith apples, and you're the one who says, okay, Granny Smith is nice, but I want to make a resilient company. What's going to happen is the investor's going to invest in Granny Smith. They're going to invest in 4 other apples. Whole Foods will buy apples from many farms. And when the harvest fails for Granny Smith, they can sell all the other apples and they're good. Sorry, Granny Smith guys. I'm not gonna make the order this semester. I'm not gonna make an order this year. You guys are gonna go out of business. I'm sorry. It's just the reality because people think Granny Smith apples suck because there's a worm that has infected the
Hmm.
harvest and no one wants to buy it anymore. You guys are out of luck. Sorry. Maybe when
Yeah,
you
they
do
don't really
better,
care.
come back to us. Now that farm is devastated.
Hmm.
They're freaking out of business. They're screwed. They did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong. They listened to the Whole Foods. They focused on Granny Smith. They had 100 people they had to lay off. And now they're out of business. That's what happens when you're an automaton. You don't get to the school you want. You started really freaking hard. You didn't get into MIT. You didn't get to Harvard. You didn't get to Yale. You didn't get to Princeton because you looked like the same as all the other Granny Smiths. Sorry, this year we don't want Granny Smiths. We have too many from last year. Right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, you're from Russia. We're not going to accept any more Russian students this year because we're fighting a war with you guys. You're screwed. So, how do you not get screwed, right? You basically listen to your heart and try to build a team that can do crazy, awesome things in that space. Sure, you can have focus on a space. I'm going to do a farm. That's a space. I'm going to do agriculture. That's a space. But maybe I can also grow pears. Maybe I can also grow oranges. Maybe this year, avocados are going to be a big hit. I'm going to take a little risk there. Look at a little side farm for avocados. Maybe I have a special on my menu, right, at a restaurant where I try Kobe beef. I'm not sure it's going to work. It's very expensive. It's twice the price as my steak. And then what happens if Kobe beef sells crazy? Then you become a Kobe beef, you're regular, and then you add that to the menu regularly, and you become really famous for that. And you add things to your menu. You have to be your own person. You cannot be a slave of an investor. You cannot be the slave of your parents. You can't be the slave of your employees. You got to take care of your baby. That's what it takes. Okay? So Phuc Labs, we're focused. We know we're going to win with one thing, but why do you want to win with one thing? Why does Facebook only want Instagram? Don't they want TikTok too? Don't they want all this
They
stuff
can't.
too? And they do it later because they want to build innovation later in their life. But guess what? Those companies never do. They never actually create it later. You have to have it at the beginning. You got to have that heart, that momentum, that soul of creating and doing things. So some companies do that better. For example, Google has actually done a pretty decent job, building some stuff in-house, buying things early on, but they bought a lot of stuff. Right? They bought Gmail, they bought they bought YouTube, they bought all these things, but they did do a good job shepherding it to the next era. But Phuc Labs, I want to make it special, right? Because the idea is not about me, it's about building an art studio of people who want to be successful like you, Roberto, right? And motivating you and giving you the incentive and getting out of the way, but also guiding you, but being a hard ass about it too. When you fail, I'm going to be honest. When I fail, I'm going to be honest. I failed. Right? This year, 2022, I failed a lot. I failed on my software team. I built a software team, and I was a terrible boss. I was a terrible manager. I'm going to do better. And now I have a new person that started, and he's going to rock, and it's going to do better. And it's already been that much better, night and day, right?
Okay.
My employees didn't think I was a good manager because of the failure of the software team, and they lost trust in me. Some of those employees, I gained trust back because I actually built the software myself, and I'm fundraising, and we're about to raise a lot of money. And I'll give you an update on that in a second, right? But then they basically, we made peace, and now we're good. You got to earn back trust. You got to earn back respect. And then I'm going to set up a structure where people want to work there. And they feel like Phuc isn't trying to be a boss. He's trying to be an enabler. Enable me to be the best I can, right? To maximize my potential. And so the person who joined me, I'm like, you can be VP of software in 2 years. You're a junior person right now, but you're really smart, and I can tell. And you could be whoever you want to be. Because when I was 20, I was a founder of a company. I was a CTO. I had no business doing that, but I actually earned that job over the next couple of years, and people respected me, even though I was 21 or 20 or 22. And now I'm like a CEO for like 15, 10 years, but I shouldn't be CEO anywhere. But I earned it. And now I should be CEO of every company. You understand that? So the main thing is you got to give someone who wants to go to Hollywood You got to give them the shot to be a star. Roberto, I'm doing that with you too. That's on this podcast. You're a star to 5 people who watch the show. But
Yes.
like you're gonna be star more. Like hopefully, if things take off. But you're gonna earn it.
I'm doing it, man. Like it's good. It's been a while. It has taken time, yes, and some focus has been shifted. But like let's do this whole thing, and
You
it's
need to do
picking
more.
up.
You can't just stay in your lane. You can't do ClickFunnels. You can't do videos. You can't do that only. You gotta be.
Mm,
I have to manage. I have to build. I have to build the product design. I have to create the wireframes for what we want to build.
mm,
I have to go and make sure I monitor the website doesn't break. I want to count the money we make. I want to see how much we can spend and where to spend it to make the most money. I need to actually care about the baby more than just changing the diapers. I got to feed it. I got to burp it. I got to do all these things I'm not comfortable with or never done
hmm
before in my life
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because someone has to
No,
do
I
it.
get it.
That's the missing piece right now, man. I'm honest with you. I'm honest with myself, right? And I am not the right person to run Mastery because I have something good going on. That is a distraction. I should be focused on something I'm really good at, but also I realize that not anyone, the past me can do Mastery OT and all these things that you're gonna do, but only one of me can write the Law of Emergent Knowledge, the book, or find the mysteries of the universe and discover the third force of nature, which is information, and create a grand theory about that. I have evolved beyond trying to start a company because my last company is a huge
Hmm
success. We make lots of money. I'll be a multimillionaire, and I'm already a multimillionaire on paper. I've already cashed out $1 million. I'm gonna get at least 10 million plus, probably 100 million plus, maybe $1 billion if that company does well. I'm probably worth at least 10, 50 million, probably more like 20, right
Very
now.
good.
So I'm not worried. So what I'm worried about is how do I maximize my potential? My potential is to find people like you, to find people who work for me at Phuc Labs, get rid of the folks who don't do well because they actually aren't the souls that we need to do this mission.
Yeah,
Find the souls that we do need for this mission, who can do this mission, who want this mission, who fit into the company culture. Just because you're a superhero doesn't mean you have to be
you
part of
can
a
be
team.
part
You
of
can
the
be a
team.
samurai
Yeah.
and doing something else, but samurais don't exist in this company. You have to be part of a team,
Hmm
right? And so some people who are smart and talented, they may not fit here because I'm kind of a jerk sometimes, and they're kind of a jerk sometimes, and our jerkness, they don't mesh. But sometimes I'm a jerk and you can live with it, and sometimes you're a jerk and I can live with it, and then that'll mesh because we improve each other, right? We make each other
Yep.
better. We even out our temperament. The skills I have matches your skills. That's not so good because we're gonna fight about who's gonna be boss. But if you have a different skill than I do, and you can be a power in that division, and I don't have to worry about it, yeah, that's good for me and you. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. I can be alpha, and you can be alpha, and I can say A, and you can say A2, and then I say no A1, and you say A2, but we're talking about the same thing. We just want to get credit. There's this shit like that goes on.
Yeah,
That's
no, definitely.
that's why companies fail, not because you're not talented, not because you can't play the music, but you just argue with your coworkers about stupid shit.
Well, it's a
You have
dumbass
too
thing
many
though,
meetings.
and the ego, like the fact
Yeah.
that you like, man, it's about the team.
Have you been in those meetings where everyone doesn't talk except 3 people, and those people always talk?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been.
Kind of like this podcast a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I talk a lot more than you, but you see. Well, this is the podcast. It's different, right?
No,
But
it's a conversation.
it's a conversation, right? But I'm also telling
Mm.
some stories about what's happening,
Yes.
and you're interacting with that. But the main
hmm
thing is, people get credit because they say stuff in a meeting, but maybe the idea was from someone else.
I know, definitely. Like, there's always like the quiet kid, right?
So as a CEO, as a leader, you have to create a culture where everyone can actually have that stage. Okay. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm making sure that all my engineers, everyone in the company,
hmm
is a product owner, right? That means they own a product that they feel passionate about or a project. And you have to give people the opportunity to punch above their pay grade. They have to basically have responsibilities that they're not meant to do. See if they can do it. It's
Yeah.
interesting,
Well, like,
right?
it is, but I mean, like, I do believe that there should be like a free filter though, because remember like what we had, like we had a bunch of like interns that they were set up in a way that they were like you wanted to lean on them, and then they broke.
Okay,
So
that's what. Okay,
then
let me talk about
then you have
that.
to clean up the mess, and that's another issue.
Yes. So I failed in this way. There has to be a test for the first employee, and you gotta test that before you hire them. That's the epiphany I have. I hired these guys, and I gave them responsibility that I thought they can handle, and they
And there was a
promised me they
great
can handle it, and
incentive
they had a
though.
background they thought they can handle it. And then I actually gave them a contract or an internship or something, and they went down really far. And then I realized within a week or two that it wasn't right, and or even a couple of weeks, and then we parted ways, and it wasn't great for either of us. Does that make sense? That's the
It
thing
does.
I failed in 2022. I have been doing that for a long time because when I had like 15, 20, 30 people, you can survive that because you just have an intern, you try it, oh yeah, the intern doesn't work out, you lose a summer, you lose a couple of months, or maybe even a full-time person because you have 15 full-time people, one of them fails, it's okay. In the earliest stage, I never had the experience because I usually work with really smart people at the beginning where I can rely on them, especially for things they're not really good at. They can actually try and do a decent job. Okay. I had some assumptions about people because I thought spiritually they're aware, they wanted this, they were hungry. But the reality is, this is the same thing that I do for a lot of people. I want them to be more than who they actually are. I really want them to be successful, but they don't have initiative. I thought they would and learn it. They can't learn initiative. I thought they were hardworking, but they were hardworking for one project. But the second project, you see the true colors. And what happens is you basically default to trust. You have to in a startup because you don't have time. You were saying, hey, let's ramp them up slowly. Let's give them stuff that they can do and handle, and they can definitely do. But that's not what the job entails. It's not a role, like I said. You're part of a team, and you're gonna have to wear many hats, especially hats that you've never worn before, and try to do a good job with that, and actually be dynamic and be okay with that. Like there's people at Phuc Labs who aren't okay with that yet. Some of them are okay with it. I think a lot of them are okay with it. But the ones who aren't okay with that, I'm gonna have to talk with them.
Okay. There's something. Bless you. Mic is off. I can't hear you.
So those people, you have to have a conversation with them, right? The people who don't want to do more, and say, look, this is the culture here, and try to get them there. But it may be hard, and maybe they do that role for the rest of their time there, and that's okay with you because you need that role, but they have to be really good at that role, right? But the thing that is better is to have a generalist, someone who knows maybe a little bit about everything, and then one thing kind of well, but willing to learn and can learn really fast and wear many hats. And
Okay.
culturally is a better fit for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
In
Yeah.
other words, I'd rather have someone out of college, 2 or 3 years, who's willing to learn, who thinks they're invincible, than someone who's 35 and really good at coding, or really good at engineering, or really good at sales. Now, that person who's really good at coding or sales, let's say sales, they're gonna make 100,000, maybe more. They're gonna do one thing really well, and they're gonna sell, and they're gonna wait. They're gonna wait for engineering to do something. They're gonna wait for marketing to do something. They're gonna wait for something to happen until it's ready their turn again. And they're gonna be, okay, this is my job. I get paid $100,000 a year, and they're very good at it, and you need them to do that. That's one example. Another example is someone graduated college. They joined you to do a junior sales role. You pay them 50, 60K a year. They are not as good as the other salesperson, but with some coaching, you can see them getting good in like a year or so. But they're actually making some sales. They're making, let's say, 80% of the sales that the other person would have made. But instead of waiting, when you need customer success and you need them to do support, they actually do customer support. And during this customer support, they talk to some people at the client, and the client says, hey, I have another project you might be good for. And then he make another sale because they farm a relationship, that sale. They also go and help with the coding. Let's say they say, hey, this UX design and stuff is not so good. The client needs these things. Let me go help with some of the product management and maybe help you with some of the designs. I sketched this thing that the client might want to use, and I did it
Okay.
with the client. And then you show that to the developers. The developers, hey, that's not a bad idea. Oh, we add that feature for the client. And then the client loves it so much they upgrade and they buy that feature and they refer you to 5 other people. And then the sales guy gets commission from that. The sales guy can also go and say, hey, boss, you need anything? Oh, yeah, we need some help. We're doing some computer vision. In this computer vision, we have to tag images. Do you mind tagging for the weekend or for this week so we can actually get more data for our computer vision or our AI stuff? And it's a sure, boss, and they do tagging. That same salesperson might also say, hey, boss, I'm done with tagging. What else can we do? And you say, you know what? Let's do a marketing plan for a new product line. Can you be head of that? Can you be the product owner for that? And then guess why they got that opportunity? Because the boss saw they did A, B, C, D, E, and they want more. And they're actually a leader. That salesperson gets that product line. They launch that product line. They become the salesperson for that product line. They lead that product line. And now that product line becomes the number one product line in the company. What do you think happens to that salesperson?
Not only goes up within like the esteem and the ranks.
Who would you rather have? That person who's 60K and did all that stuff for you, or that VP of sales?
No, definitely like that. Especially like at this point, I feel like a generalist just picks up more weight.
They don't think it's impossible for them to learn. They think it's easy. They've never seen it done before. They've never said, hey, I can't do that. Because in their life, their parents, they say, you can do anything. You can do it. You can get to college. You can be anything you want. And 2 years out of that, they still believe in that. 10 years, 15 years out of it, you've been beaten down by the system. You would have bosses who have TPS reports, like The Office, like the movie The Office. You're going to be reporting to people. You're going to have deadlines. You're going to have numbers you're responsible for. In a big company, there's so much work. You actually have to focus on sales only because you can't do any other job. You have so much business. Now you've been taught to be an automaton, and you join that startup, and that startup asks you to do, hey, do you mind doing a little customer service for us? We're kind of short this week. No, that's not my job. I'm VP of sales. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I've seen that happen a bunch of times.
I mean, that's human nature, right?
Yeah.
It's human nature to do what you did last. The same VP of sales would have said, I want to do a startup. I want to do something innovative. I want to do something exciting. I want to join this mission. And they'll sign up for that honestly, feeling like that's what they need to do when they join that company. And they actually might stay there in that VP of sales role, but they're not going to be the person that gets promoted. They're just going to be a lifetime worker. And that founder or that person or everyone in the company is going to say, hey, they're that one person who does that one thing. They're cool. But this other person's badass. That person's a killer. Started as a junior, associate at sales, started their own product line, helped us with product success, helped us with some of the coding. They're friends with all the developers. They're friends with everyone at these companies that they sell to. They're a go-getter, and they're spiritually aware because they want to learn and they love their job, and they'll do anything to make this baby successful. That's what you want to hire.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like the person that can patch up all the stuff that needs to be done.
And that's what's missing from Mass Realty. Have you seen that at Mass Realty ever?
Ever? No. Like there's been a part where like people kept coming in to patch up like the different needs that we had. And initially like there was a bunch of things that just didn't happen. That like I thought we're gonna have. Yeah.
Correct. Now let me tell you all the things that I did for Phuc Labs. I started the company, I had the idea. I found the first investor. I hired everyone on the team. I coded all the software myself. I sold customers. I set up a process for customer success, for product management. I set up Notion for all the documentation. I did all this stuff. I wore many hats. That's what it takes. I was good at most of them. I got better at some of them. I had to learn some new skills. I had to learn AI. I never did AI before this job. And now I'm the best at AI. The best person I know, at least. Even the people who work in AI, who were the vendors that we use, my ideas they love, and they're actually implementing some of them, and we're collaborating on some ideas. And when I talk, they're like, this guy knows what the hell he's talking about. But I didn't. I went in there and I taught myself. And then I did. I bullshit with confidence, and I was doing above my pay grade, and people respect that. And by the way, guess why my ideas are so much better? Because I have done everything else. I did art, I did sports, I did all these things. I knew the context of the customer. I knew all these things. So when I went into that job, I wasn't a developer. I was a customer. I was a salesperson. I was the math person. I'm the coder. I can do all aspects and I had many perspectives. And I can see that there's two dots and a bunch of dots that look like a smile. And I can see the entire smiley face because each of those dots is something I knew from the past that had nothing to do with AI. Meditation, for example. God is real. Information, all these things, math, right? Oh, how do you think about how to reverse engineering how you think, right? Where does imagination come from? How does art work? What is the meaning of life? That's what makes you good at coding AI. You need to know all those things to be a master of AI. And I came into that situation because I was open to learning many things. And now I'm a master at one more thing because I was a master at 100 things. So going back to your thing, Roberto, would you rather be a master of one thing or be a master of two things, then three things, then 100 things? And to become a master of the 101 thing takes you seconds because it's pattern recognition.
Yeah, yeah,
Dating
definitely.
is the same as sales. Sales is the same as marketing. Marketing is the same as product management. Product management is the same as UX. UX is the same as coding. Coding is the same as sales because what you code can automate sales. And all of it ties together in this world that is more complicated than ever.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like all your previous experiences definitely get you like to better places, and you have all the connections to make that make learning the next thing that much easier.
Or when you do UX design and some UX designer talks to you and you're like, this guy's full of shit because you actually did some UX design. You might not be as good as that guy, or
Yeah,
that
yeah,
firm you should not hire, or that
yeah, yeah,
candidate you should not hire because you've actually done some coding, even though you're a sales guy, or
yeah.
because now you're a CEO, because because you did some data stuff. You understand how that works. So some guy bullshits you, you understand that's bullshit. We had at least some bullshit radar,
Yeah, yeah,
right? The
some
bullshit meter,
notion of what's going on. I mean, like I don't know a lot, but I know that's wrong.
but it makes you a better leader.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, for example, last night, my team's like, we can do this in 3 months. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay, we can do this in 3 months, but we don't need to do X, Y, and Z. We just need to do X. And here's why. And I went through a series of reasons why
Okay,
Y and Z are not needed. And then the team's like, okay, you're right. We only have to do X.
there you
Now,
go.
here's what
Well,
happened
there's
to
three
Elon
steps
Musk. It's
left
kind of
or
embarrassing
two
to Elon
steps left.
Musk. I'm going to call him out a little bit. He was in a meeting. He was in a meeting supposedly,
Okay,
and he was being interviewed. And one of the staff members said, okay, you said that Twitter, we're going to have to lay off all these people and redesign and rewrite the whole thing. Can you tell me how it currently works and what would you rewrite?
okay.
And he said, you're an asshole. I can't believe you asked that question. I'm not going to answer that. That's bullshit. You're just being a jerk at this point. That's because he didn't know what the hell he's talking about.
No,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
So
Because he
you got
doesn't know the
offended.
code. He just said, okay, we got to rewrite the whole thing because someone told me, or because I've done that with engineering and other stuff. And so when he said that, he lost all credibility with me and everyone on the software team. Probably,
Well,
right?
yeah, probably.
Now
Because
I
then,
can
and
explain to you why X, Y, and Z doesn't make sense. In my lab, we did this, and X proved to be better than Y. And Y is a dead end because we don't even need Y because Y is something that is already taken care of by this other thing we can just buy. Z doesn't even matter if the client doesn't want it because I spoke to the client and here's what the client said. Now, when you do that, people are like, wow, this person should be a good boss for me because they
and you're
just made my
maximizing
life simpler. I don't have to do X, Y, and Z, and they're going to help me.
exactly. And you're maximizing like your like the resources. Like, why would I spend time on this thing when it's useless?
No, because you're actually interested in something that they're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah.
say you're an artist and you get feedback from someone who knows art, and that person gives you a really good compliment. Your art's amazing. And then they
Yeah.
criticize you when your art sucks.
It's worth
And when your
something.
art sucks, they tell you why, and you take it and you make it better. And you know what? What you just did, now your art's amazing, and you agree. Your song is missing a beat. If you add this beat, it's gonna be a killer. And you're like, fine, I'll add that beat. And you add that beat. Holy shit, you're right. I should
Well, I feel
collaborate with
like
this producer. I should work with this person. They're freaking brilliant.
Yeah, no,
That's what
definitely.
you have to
And
do.
it comes back to like this ego thing of like being open to learning at all times. And it's not having like who the hell you think you are, like to tell me what I'm supposed to do. It's like, listen, it's constructive criticism here. Like I want you to be better. And
Right.
that's a good leader thing as well.
And ask questions like, hey, I
Hmm.
don't understand this art. Can you tell me why? And then
Yeah.
they'll say this, and then you seem curious. And then the next conversation, you bring up as a person, hey, the reason why this art works is because you told me X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
And I totally agree with X, Y, and Z. But what about, this X part? Tell me more about it. And maybe I think that's a little bit weak compared to the other X's that you've done before in the past. And you actually can understand and have a conversation with them in an intelligent way, and they start to respect you further. But then what you
Yeah.
do is you say, you know what? I'd like you to do the same, artist. I'd like you to do some sales for me. Because in order to sell your painting, I'd love them to meet the painter and have you be
Okay.
articulate,
Okay.
explain yourself, and help me do some sales. And the artist is going to say, you know what? They're willing to learn my art. This salesperson, this boss, they didn't know anything about this art. Maybe I should try to learn
Hmm.
about sales. And you create
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
culture of, hey, it's okay to do something that you're not good at because you can
Exactly.
fail, you can get better.
But there's somebody there to mentor you, if anything.
It's not a mentorship, it's a relationship between
Hmm.
friends
Yeah,
on the
you
same
get some
mission.
empathy, and you're both learning
If I'm
from each
climbing
other.
Mount Everest and I'm the boss of pitching tents, and then my other collaborators say, hey, I don't know how to make tents and pitch tents, but I'd like to help you pitch a tent.
Yeah, like
And the next
come on
time they help
over.
me pitch a tent, we all help pitch tents. That's a team. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
when they're the cook, and when it's time to go cooking, I'm going to ask that cook, hey, you help me with the tent. Do you mind if I help you with some cooking? I'd like to learn some cooking too.
yeah, and
That's
everybody grows.
natural, right?
Yeah, it does, and everybody grows that way, and end up like supporting each other on different things.
Correct. So in 2023, we're at the end of our time here.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the advice I would give in resolution. Do not focus on a job, a role. Focus on the mission. When you focus on the mission, there'll be roles and responsibilities and things you can do in your life, whether it be the mission of taking care of your kids, or taking care of a dog, or taking care of a house, or taking care of a company, or taking care of a garden.
Hmm.
You have to basically be open to learning new things and evolving. And that's my wish for you guys in 2023 is to evolve, to learn from your mistakes, to admit when you're wrong, to try to be honest, and to try to improve and be better. Thanks, guys. I guess we didn't talk about aliens. We didn't talk about magic, but next time we'll
Yeah,
talk about
next
that.
time for sure.
But I just want to be a little bit more thoughtful about what I was thinking because in 2023, that's what I'm going to try to do myself. Thanks,
It's a
guys.
good one. Like evolve and be better, man. Take care. See you guys next time. Bye.